Hello, everyone. Welcome to our worship and welcome to the Word of God. And this is a great time for us to think deep and ponder upon the truth. And I hope that God would help us to do that. Don't you wish that you have a wise, experienced, knowledgeable, and brilliant life coach to help you decide on important steps in your life? I do. I wish I have that life coach right next to me, guiding me and helping me make decisions. And that is why life coaching industry is growing, it's thriving, believe it or not. Actually, it's part of $2.85 billion industry. And according to the study, they studied Fortune 100 executives, and then they found out that the coaching resulted in an ROI, return of investment, at almost 6 times the program cost, which means you get a lot. And even more so, a study of Fortune 500 telecommunications companies conducted by Matrix Global showed that executive coaching resulted in a 529% of ROI, which means coaching does make a difference. And once again, don't you wish that you have the wealthiest, smartest, most successful person right next to you, coaching you all the time? And believe it or not, the Bible says we do. And Solomon is such a person, if you remember. He was the wealthiest, the wisest, the most powerful, most successful king in 10th century BC. And he accumulated so much vast wisdom and insights that he wanted to write it down for his children and for those who will come after him, so that they would learn wisdom, understanding, and knowledge and make wise choices in their lives, so that they would not waste their time, resources, and opportunities, and that they would not live a life with regret. That's where the book of Proverbs came about. So it's a collection of King Solomon's wisdom and other wisdoms as well, for us to gain wisdom, gain understanding and knowledge, so that we can make wise choices in life, so that we would have successful life. So obviously the tone of this book is Father's heart, because Solomon is really thinking about his children. Hey, I'm pleading you with love, passion, and guidance. Guys, listen to me. Listen to me. This is the way to live. You gotta be smart about life. And yet there's a stern voice underneath that you gotta do it. I mean, there's no other way. See, in fact, this life is made of right thing and wrong thing. There's no gray thing. There is also a wise way and foolish way. And there's God's way of living, and there's wicked way of living. And there's a blessed life and cursed life. So his promise, presumption is that there are 2 things that you can choose from, and I want you to choose the right thing for your own life. So Solomon doesn't want us to play a guessing game. He wants us to know what to choose and what not to choose, what to reject. And the word is wisdom. He wants us to be wise. So I titled this message series Foolproof Life, because this life is full of things that can fool us. And with technology, there are more ways that can fool us in these days, right? I mean, you cannot even trust your eyes, what you're hearing, what's on the media, because there are so many things that are really not true. And that is secondary, right? And this is really true in Matthew 7:13 and 14, when Jesus said, "Go in by the narrow gate, for the wide gate has a broad road which leads to disaster, and there are many people going that way. The narrow gate and the hard road lead out into life, and only a few are finding it." There was a verse right there. So if you look at this verse, okay, actually there is none. there are many deceptions. Jesus says, okay, there is a wide, bigger, and fancier road, a gate, right? And there's broader and easier road. And is a popular and trend way of life that can fool you because it'll end up in disaster. So Jesus said, okay, what seems really great can fool you, right? At the end, you're going to end up in disaster. But there is, on the other hand, narrow gate, okay, and then very hard road, and unpopular way of life that can lead you to life. So Jesus is clearly presenting what it seems to be is not all true. You gotta be wise and choose the right road and right gate to enter in order to live life to the fullest. So how can we live a foolproof life? By getting wisdom and understanding. And last time I explained wisdom is the ability to make the right choice at the right time based on knowledge and understanding. Basically, wisdom is what to do, knowing what to do, how to do it in the right way at the right time. And it's all about being wise about making choices. And I explained there are 3 secrets of finding wisdom. How do we find true wisdom? And I explained number 1 was obedient heart. Because if you are not willing to listen and obey, then you will never learn. So your heart should be willing heart, obeying heart. On the other hand, when you set your mind on to obey God in truth, you will continue to grow in wisdom because you keep on learning. Second secret is the fear of God, because Proverbs 9:10 says, "Fear of the Lord is the foundation of wisdom. Knowledge of the Holy One results in good judgment." So we understand that the standard of all wisdom and truth is God Himself. Okay? It's not about happiness, our happiness. It's not about even rights. It's not about equality. It's not even about what I choose to be, my own identity of choice. Right? It's not even about the law of this land. It's not even about common sense. We understand that the wisdom and the truth comes from God, and God is the truth. So when we choose God, we abide in that truth. And then when we look up to God, we started translating everything in our lives in a wise way because we understand how God operates. See, that's the second key. And then third key of this secret is to have personal pursuit. There are many different wisdom out there, knowledge and how-tos and all that. But then if you don't pursue it, you will not get it. That's the whole point of the book of Proverbs. You have to seek it. Like in this verse, Proverbs chapter 2 says, "My child, listen, treasure, tune your ears, concentrate on understanding, cry out for insight, ask for understanding." Verse 4 says, "Search for them, seek them, then you will understand what it means to fear the Lord, and you will gain knowledge of God." So we understand that we have to seek after, we have to search for it, and we have to focus on it. So with these 3 secrets of obeying heart, intention to obey, fear of God, and the personal pursuit of wisdom combined will activate in us a lifestyle of seeking wisdom and gaining more wisdom in our lives. So today, I'm going to kind of jump all over and go on to chapter 2, chapter 5, 7, 8, 9, and kind of tell you a story of 2 women, okay? And I titled it, "The Enticement of 2 Women," right? You would ask, why woman, right? why does it have to be always woman who entices, right? Okay, don't get me wrong. Women are attractive, right? They are attractive, powerful. The women are powerful and insightful. They share a lot of insights. They have their own intuition. And there is a mystery and curiosity in womanhood that men are attracted to, right? And definitely there's a wisdom in woman, and definitely woman can grant satisfaction. So Solomon, instructing his sons, who are naturally attracted women, all right, you have natural attraction and you have natural way of seeking wisdom in life. Well, there are two different choices. One is woman of wisdom. The other one is woman of folly. And folly is definitely this lack of good sense and foolishness, right? And Solomon personifies wisdom into these two type of women. And definitely, we are not trying to sexualize anything, or we are not trying to put woman in a difficult position. It simply means that woman has a very important position. And believe it or not, the end chapter 31 is all about woman, wise woman, how woman just makes everything right. Wise woman, right? So actually, Bible praises womanhood, but in this case, Solomon is taking womanhood to teach his children lessons. So let's talk about woman of folly. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 2, and it reads, "Wisdom will save you from the immoral woman, from the seductive words of the promiscuous woman, and she has abandoned her husband and ignores the covenant she made before God. Entering her house leads to death. It is the road to grave. The man who visits her is doomed. He will never reach the path of life." So basically, he talks about this woman who is immoral and who has a promiscuous lifestyle. She's a lawbreaker because she doesn't care about marriage vow, and then she's defiant against God. And that's the type of woman that he's talking about. And one thing we know that this woman will entice you, actually is enticing your life. That is the first lesson he's trying to teach you. Because the verse 16 says she has seductive words. She has very sweet and nice words that is trying to fool you and trying to have you do something that you're not supposed to do. Proverbs chapter 5, verse 3 says, "For the lips of an immoral woman are as sweet as honey, and a mouth is smoother than oil." Isn't that true? I mean, women have a way with words that can really entice you, and it's a great thing, right? So, everything sounds good, but these words promises pleasure and satisfaction, but you should not believe that, right? The next chapter, Proverbs chapter 7, he illustrates this in a true story, right? How I know this story? Because I believe Solomon saw this, he experienced this, all right? The story goes like this. Let's kind of follow along together. So while he was looking out the window, he saw this group of young people, and they were hanging out. And there was one particular young man who lacked common sense, right? He was naive. He didn't know anything. And he was crossing the street near the house of an immoral woman, and he's getting closer and closer and closer. You can just read the whole scripture, right? So he's getting closer. He's pondering about this immoral woman, and he's testing out, how far can I go? And verse 9, it goes on. It was a twilight in the evening, so the perfect time comes. And as deep darkness fell, right, when no one sees him, right, woman approaches him, right? And there's a surge of temptation. And then she was attractive and she was eye-catching, and then it makes him exciting and freeing because she doesn't care about these rules, right? That makes him exciting. Verse 12 goes on, she's available, right? She says, "Oh, I'm just, in the street, market, soliciting at every corner." So this temptation is available, easily get to. And verse 13 is also very sensual and stimulating. And then she said, "You don't have to feel guilty about it. This is the way we live. This is the way we enjoy." Verse 14 goes on and says, it's a perfect timing because I've just made my peace offering and fulfilled my vows, which basically means it's a perfect time for her to, engage in relationship, right? It's basically that. And you are the one I was looking for, okay? If you agree, I'll agree, and then we can really have fun. So there's a consensual, approach right there. And then she said, I came out to find you. Here you are. It was coincidental. How great it is. So you can see all these, very conniving, sweet words that comes to us. And as you listen to this story, I want you to go beyond sexual temptation, because there are many different temptations that I'm going to be explaining. So kind of put this story into many different scenarios. Verse 16, my bed is spread with beautiful blankets, with colored sheets of Egyptian linen. 17, perfume, myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. And then he goes, let us drink our full fill of love until morning. So there's definite fantasy, imagination. Wow, that would be great, right? And then, verse 19, for my husband is not home, right? It's safe, right? There's an illusion of safe. It's not safe, but she said, it's safe. No one's here. My husband took a long trip, and verse 20, he took a lot of money, so he's not going to come until a month later. So we have all this time. Reasonability, right? It's very reasonable that you do this, right? There's another way of tempting. And verse 21, so she seduced him with her pretty speech and enticed him with her flattery. And that's final entrapment. So he goes in, and then that's the end of the story. So this story explains how we get tempted. It's a process of temptation. First, you wander around, and then you get closer, and then you listen, and then you kiss, and then you start rationalizing, and you go in acting, right? So we really need to examine this woman of folly has a beautiful way of enticing. I mean, she knows exactly what to do to get our mind with, and then to move our feet into that trap, and then that enticement is going on all the time. So Solomon is awakening his young people, hey, this enticement is going on. There's temptation 360 degrees around you. There are many different ways of tempting you, but you need to really be careful, right? And verse 2, a second thing that he emphasized going on with his story, she will bring you to ruin and death. If you fall into temptation, there will be a great consequence. So he continues his story in verse 22. He followed her at once, not even thinking about twice, right? Like an ox going to a slaughter. This expression shocks me. Ox is going into the slaughter field without knowing that in a second he's going to die. But this young man is just like that. He doesn't know what's going to happen. He was like a stag, like male deer caught in a trap, awaiting the arrow that would pierce his heart. He was like a bird flying into a snare, little knowing it would cost him his life. So definitely it's talking about the consequence, the result of falling into the trap of woman of folly. Proverbs verse 2, we read this again, but it talks about death, how your life will end up in grave. And then your life will be doomed, and you will never reach the path of life. And that's the consequence of falling into temptation. And Proverbs chapter 5 says, stay away from her. Don't go near the door of her house. If you do, you will lose your honor and will lose to merciless people all you have achieved. And verse 10, it talks about they're gonna consume your wealth, and then you will not be able to enjoy the fruit of your labor. And verse 11, and your life will end in groaning, in anguish when disease consumes your body. That's when you die. You're gonna have full of regret. I wish, right? And verse 12 expresses his regrets. You will say, how I hated discipline, how I hated wisdom or any guidance from someone. If only I had not ignored all the warnings. Oh, why didn't I listen to my teachers? Why didn't I pay attention to my instructors? I have come to the brink of utter ruin, and now I must face public disgrace. So we have to understand that this temptation that is coming to us, trying to entice us, way of folly, always comes with a consequence and result that is many times irrevocable, right? It cannot turn back. God can forgive us, and God can give us new life and salvation and peace in my mind, in our mind. But whatever we've done will always remain and will keep on damaging our lives. I mean, that's the fact of life. God is loving and forgiving, but whatever we have committed will come back and haunt us. So, the question is, who is the woman of folly in your life? Like I said, this is really talk about the sexual temptation for young men or for young women. I mean, we are facing this in every which way. I mean, commercialism, media, I mean, pictures, I mean, every which way we are faced with sexual temptation, right? With internet pornography is another one. But it doesn't stop there. What about friends and coworkers who are enticing you to do something that you should not do? What about obsession with the social media, the pressure in social media? What about obsession with the games and entertainment that consumes you, that takes you to where you don't want to be? What about obsession with money, position, power, luxurious lifestyle? This is another one, huge in Washington area, right? Luxurious lifestyle. What about material possession, ungodly ambition? I want to be great. I want to be recognized, right? I want to achieve something in my life. What about substance abuse and addiction, right? And indulging yourself with different desires, entertaining different fantasies, including depressive and destructive thoughts. That's all I wrote right there. And I was thinking, this could be many different things. This woman of follies can have many, many different faces. And the way that she tempts us can be very similar to what Solomon described in this story. It's very slow. It's very reasonable. It's very gradual and sometimes very natural. I'm just trying to be free. I'm just trying to follow my heart. I'm seeking my own happiness. Why can't I not choose what I want to choose in life? Right? All this rationalization, all this compromise, and looking over the fence of the limitation will lead us into somewhere that we don't want to be, which will result in grave consequence. And this is one woman that is present in our lives. So Proverbs 7 give us anecdote right there. Verse 27, 4 says, so listen to me, my son. So it's really striking. He says, don't do this. If you do this, you're going to get in trouble. It's not about law and regulation. Solomon is talking about, hey, listen to me. I love you. I care for you. You are my son. Do you know who you are? Do you know what you're destined to be in my dream, in my vision? You are my son. So he's talking about relationship, you and I, because we are in loving relationship, because you are my son. You have identity. You have different destiny, and I have different vision for you. Pay attention to my words. So Solomon is going back to relational factor. Hey, you and God, the truth is one. This is what you really want. This is who you are. What you are wishing over the other fence is not who you are. So he's kind of bringing to the ground that he should be. And then verse 25 says, don't let your heart stray away toward her. Don't wander down to her wayward path. Right? So he keeps going back to my words, your heart, don't wander. He's just keep going back to his heart issue, his relational issue. How do we avoid temptation? Is by giving your affection to something that is greater than the source of temptation, right? And thus comes the woman of wisdom, okay? Unless you love woman of wisdom, unless you are acquainted with woman of wisdom, it's easier to fall for the secondary option. But Solomon is saying, if you know who you are, if you have this tender relationship with me, with the truth, then you will fall in love with a better way, and then that's how you avoid. And then he keep going on. Then you should be able to avoid the ruin of many, being victim, going to grave, and then experiencing death in your life. So summarizing, 3 things: hate what is wrong. Number 2, reject any involvement with wrong, and then assess the end of the outcome. Right? So first thing we need to do is hate what God hates. Hate what is wrong. The problem is we wish, we kind of desire the wrong thing. We desire the bad thing. And we think that's the excitement, that's adventurous. But the Bible is clear. No, if you know it's wrong, hate it. Okay? Say no, like way in advance. And then reject the involvement. If there's a slight involvement, don't get close to it. If you keep falling into temptation, same time, same place, don't go there when the time comes. Don't stay alone, right? And then third, assess the end outcome. That's the most powerful thing. Think about the end result, right? Then you will run away from it. All right. So quickly, let's talk about the woman of wisdom, because this is the main point. So the other option is listening to the woman of wisdom. Proverbs chapter 5, verse 4 says, "Love wisdom like a sister. Make insight a loved member of your family. Let them protect you from an affair with an immoral woman." Again, from listening to the flattery of a promiscuous woman. All right. So what's the remedy to not fall into the trap of woman of folly? By falling in love with the woman of wisdom, right? Considering her, you're my sister. You're like my family member. We have things going. I love you and you love me, right? And then if you develop this love for wisdom and respect for God, and that will protect you from immoral woman, and then that will protect you from listening to these flattery words. Then who is this woman? I'm basically asking the same question. Proverbs verse 7 explains, "The Lord formed me, wisdom, from the beginning. Before he created anything else, I was appointed in age past at the very first, before the earth began." Right? And then the next verse 24 through 26 basically says, I created everything. When everything was created, I was before, and then I was in that process of creating everything. I was behind all this intricate, creation and natural laws, right? And before he made the earth and field, I was already there, right? So we understand this wisdom is actually God. God is wisdom. Wisdom is not material laws, but it's God himself. And more specifically, it's Jesus Christ. Because John chapter 1, verse 1 through 3 says, "In the beginning, the Word, the wisdom, Logos, already existed." Same thing. The word wisdom was with God, and the word wisdom was God. He existed in the beginning with God. God created everything through him, and nothing was created except through him. So Solomon already, in his spiritual insight, understands this wisdom is eternal. It's the law of the universe. It's the principle that holds everything together. It's actually God, the pre-existing sovereign God who reigns over the affairs of the nature and the human beings. So when I'm dealing with wisdom, I'm dealing with something that is divine, something that is out of my own boundary and understanding. It's much bigger. When I follow wisdom, it's not about me, not my preference, my choice. No, it's something much, much bigger, much eternal, and much more perfect in my life that I'm willing to choose and follow the universal principle and law so that I can abide in that flourishment and prosperity and peace that it grants. Do you understand? So that's where he's coming from. And he goes on and says, same thing. She is enticing you, right? You think wisdom is not there? No, wisdom is there and enticing you in the same way that woman of folly is enticing you. Chapter 8, verse 1 says, listen as wisdom calls out. Okay? Understanding raises her voice. On the hilltop and along the road, she takes her stand at the crossroad. So right here, wisdom is also, with beautiful voice, flattery voice, calling out and raising her voice everywhere at hilltop, road, and crossroad. Wisdom is everywhere, enticing you in a positive way. Verse 3 says, by the gates, an entrance to the town, and the road leading it is a small road, even the small, neighborhood road. She is crying out, I call you, to all of you. There's no discrimination. I raise my voice to all people. And who needs to listen? You simple people, use good judgment. You foolish people, show some understanding. So Solomon is really clear. Wisdom also is crying out to you. Wisdom is available everywhere if you determine to seek for it. So that's why he says in verse 6, listen to me, for I have important things to tell you. Everything I say is right, for I speak the truth and detest every kind of deception. My advice is wholesome. There is nothing devious or crooked about it. So wisdom is calling to give you the right thing, the truth, no deception, wholesome advice, and straight advice to all of us. And that's what wisdom is trying to do. And verse 9, let's read it all together. I don't want you to fall asleep. Ready? Go. My words are plain to anyone with understanding, clear to those with knowledge. Choose my instruction rather than silver, and knowledge rather than pure gold. For wisdom is far more valuable than rubies. Nothing you desire can compare with it. This is the case for the woman of wisdom. All right? So what I'm offering to you is more valuable than gold and silver. Anything that's valuable in this world, you cannot even compare. If you have this, you made it. You have your life, right? And she is just enticing each one of us. Hey, buy wisdom, seek wisdom, grab wisdom instead of secondary follies. Then, the next one says, then you will be brought to life and favor of God. The next verse, 12 says, I, wisdom, live together with good judgment. And he talks about knowledge and discernment. And who fear the Lord will hate evil. Therefore, I hate pride, arrogance, corruption, and perverse speech, which basically means if you grab wisdom, you will naturally avoid evil. You will naturally stay away from what God hates. That's the beauty about it. You don't fight against sin and you don't fight against wrongs in this world because it's much greater than you. You don't have power to resist the natural temptation that everybody feels. The only way is to side with the truth, side with God, and use His strength, use the stronger desire and value system to hate what is wrong and what is harmful to each one of us. And that's why verse 14 talks about common sense and success. That wisdom will give you insight and strength. Wisdom will give you reign, will give you leadership, will help you decree, make just decrees, will help you become a leader and help you lead through the many traps in life, right? And then will give you right judgment. And then he goes on, I love all who love me. So wisdom, gives us this sense of love and sense of rich and honor and enduring justice and wealth. And it goes on, it's better than gold, better than sterling silver. It's righteousness, justice, wealth, and treasures. You can just keep on reading and meditate on this. I'm fascinated what wisdom is offering. Actually, wisdom is offering more than what we can ever dream in this life. I do want wealth. I do want treasures. I do want justice, righteous. I do want all these things, but I don't realize that all those things that I so desire, that I so want in this life, is in the wisdom, in the bosom of God. Not in the folly way, not in the worldly way, but it's in God. And it's only common sense for me to choose God and wisdom that God provides over the other, because that just makes sense. It's just wise thing to do. It's a commonsensical thing. So the point is three things. Love what is right, hate what is evil. That was number one lesson. But here, love what is right. Okay? Develop that desire and embrace involvement with wisdom. How are you involving with wisdom? Are you reading the scripture? Are you praying for wisdom and insight? And are you praying when you have to make important decisions? Are you praying? Are you seeking? Are you reading up the important, valuable books? And are you seeking wisdom? You need to get involved more in seeking wisdom. And third lesson is hold on to the end outcome. Okay? This world will not give you fair share of our pursuit and decision, right? Let me help you understand that this Proverbs is not absolute in this world, okay? You may follow righteousness and justice and fairness, live clean life, and yet die early age, poor, right, and persecuted. There are millions of people being persecuted because they want to live in the righteous way. See? So don't get discouraged. But when you believe in the end result, which is not end of this life, but we need to add eternity. Okay, believers, we know we will be resurrected someday after we die, and then we're going to have another eternity that we're going to enjoy. So this wisdom promise is granted. Probability is that you will enjoy peace, justice, good relationship, and peace and all prosperity in this life. That's higher probability than those who choose the other way. You will have good life, definitely. But even though you don't get that in this life for an injustice reason of this world, you will have there in the eternal reward, right? So understanding this gives you courage not to get discouraged, not to give up your lifestyle, not to compromise, and not to live in fear, because you know the end result of your own pursuit. All right? So let me sort of conclude with this point. What can you do to love wisdom? That's why we are doing Wisdom Challenge. And I, in my first message, I opened up. I really think believing in Jesus Christ needs to be more than coming to church, more than just reading the Bible, and more than on Sunday. I think, especially nowadays, when Christianity is not being favored by many people, we need to be wise in this world. We need to know that believing in God means living righteously in this world. We need to be able to choose the right thing. We need to be able to say no. We need to have this specific and detailed wisdom and guidelines in this world. And I believe this book of Proverbs and Ecclesiastes and book of Job, this wisdom literature will provide the wisdom for you. And I believe Christians should read Gospels. Yeah, that's great. But we need to really study the wisdom book so that we will know exactly what to do and how to live wisely in this tumultuous life, right? And that's why wisdom challenge is really important. I said if you haven't started when we started, that's fine. What's today? Today is 26th, right? Then I just wake up and today 26. Let me open up Proverbs 26. That's how I always stay in the Proverbs. Did you know what I mean? Because Proverb is not continuous in a way, except the first part. So you wake up, it's a 5th of, let's say July 4th, and this birthday, July 4th, what should I read? Okay, today I'm going to read Proverbs chapter 4. Easy, right? Read that, get one principle out. Whoa, this is something that I can hold on to. Get one proverb to memorize. Okay, this, and then share that, text that to someone, and then, ooh, cool. Look at this. Isn't it true? Just by doing that, you're going to go through Book of Proverbs once a month. Think about that. That's 12 times a year. But amazing thing is Proverbs is not thematically organized. It'll just repeat itself. Same topic. Talk about again, different way, different context. The power of Proverbs is it'll just keep on coming back and remind you at the right time, at the right situation. It'll give you insight. Whoa, I need to do this. Maybe I should not decide that way. Maybe I need to change my mind. Maybe I need to pray a little more about this. See, it is a beauty how God interconnects His wisdom with our lives, from this book. And pick up more books to read. Pray for wisdom, because James says, if you lack wisdom, why don't you pray? And God will give you. Pay attention, because wisdom is happening everywhere. If you pay attention, you will grab golden nuggets everywhere you can learn from people and situations, and then start making wise choices. As I conclude this message, I know that we had a lot. I want to show you this picture, painting. And this painting is titled "Two Women at a Window" by Bartolome Esteban Murillo, right? I think it's so he drew a lot of religious paintings, and this one really doesn't have specific meaning by the artist, but I thought this painting was very interesting. And what do you think? Okay, two women are looking out the window, right? And then I don't know what they're doing. This woman is like, ooh, like, it's very loving, and she looks smart. She's looking for someone, but this woman is a little older, just trying to hide something, right? And like very suspicious, like, okay, let me see who's out there. And I want to just take a look at this painting and think about your life. As I said, there are two types of women in this life. A woman of folly, foolish woman, and a woman of wisdom. Okay, and they are looking out the window to all of us, to each one of us, all the time, trying to do what they are trying to do, right? And it's many times our job to choose who to follow, who to listen to, and who to go with, right? And then experience the natural consequence of that choice. So today, just look at this picture and pray, God, I know, this world is chaotic, so many voices, so loud and so noisy, and it's even hard to know what is truth and what is real anymore, right? And in this confusing time, I think we Christians need more and more of the Spirit of God to help us discern the truth, the righteous way, and then the way that we should live out, follow and live out. Without that, it's easy, even though we believe in Jesus Christ, it's easy for us to be swept away with a current and then end up somewhere that we don't want to be. And as your own pastor, as your own father, your friend, I don't want you, just like Solomon, to fail in your life. And today, I think God has spoken to each one of us clearly what to choose and what to do in our lives. As we end this, I want to invite you to read Proverbs 9:34 through 36 as your own confession. And then I'm going to ask you to pray your own prayer. Ready? 34? Here you go. Joyful are those who listen to me, watching for me daily at my gates, waiting for me outside my home. For whoever finds me finds life and receives favor from the Lord. But those who miss me injure themselves. All who hate me love death. Let us all pray. Oh God, help us to choose life. Help us to choose life.